Hey, Hugh from ClickFunnels Support here. So in this video, I'm just going to go over how we can configure the sub-headline element. We currently have a simple page set up with no content, so we'll start by adding in an element. We can click on text to get a sub-selection of just the text-related elements. Then we'll add in the sub-headline element. Now because this is a text element, it works a little bit differently than some of our other elements. If you just click on the element itself, it will jump you into a text editor. If you want to get into the settings for the element, you can hover over it and click on the gears icon, or you can go into the Elements menu, choose Manage, and then click on the element in question. If we do just click on it, it will jump us into this text editor. Here, there's a number of things we can configure. So we can bold, underline, italicize, and strike through text. We can change the justification, choosing from left, right, or center. And we can hyperlink some or all of our text. From this editor, you can also get directly into the settings by clicking on the gears icon on the top right-hand corner. In settings, there's a number of things we can configure, starting with the top margin. Going from the bottom, we can adjust the typography type, choosing from content font or headline font, which will use the default settings you have set up via Settings, Typography. We can adjust the opacity from none to light, half, or heavy fade. We can adjust a border color, an icon color, a background color, a bold color for any text that we've bolded, text color for just the regular portion of the text. We can set a font size, as well as configuring a mobile font size independently. And finally, we can choose a font family, which will override settings from the typography type that we've chosen at the bottom. There are some additional configuration options available via the Advanced tab. In order to better show this off though, I'm going to add a second headline element with a little bit more text. So jumping back into the settings, we can click on the Advanced tab. By default, the Styles tab will be pre-selected. Here, we can adjust the line height. We can use text transformation to make large changes with a single click, choosing to make everything all uppercase, all lowercase, or all capitalized. We can adjust the letter spacing, making it much larger or even a little bit smaller. We can add a text shadow, choosing from subtle, mid, or strong. We can adjust the number of columns we want the text to appear over. By default, one column will be selected, but we can change that to 2, 3, or 4 columns. This would be roughly analogous to creating a 4-column row and placing one text element in each row. Next, we can use an icon picker to add an icon. We can jump into settings to change the color for that icon. Here, we can also adjust the border color. To configure the border itself though, we'll go back into the Advanced tab in the Styles tab. Here, there's a number of border-related settings. So we can choose from full border, bottom only, or only top and bottom. We can choose a border style from solid, dashed, or dotted. We can configure a border size from 1 all the way up to 10 pixels. We can add a shadow from 5 to 40%. A drop shadow will appear outside of the border of the element, and an inner shadow will appear inside of the border. We can also adjust the border radius from 0 to 150 pixels. Which will set how rounded we want the corners to be. We can add some additional padding from 0 all the way up to 150 pixels. Finally, we can click on the animation tab here and set up a time delay, choosing from fade in or fade in with scale. If I set this to 1 minute and 30 seconds, for example, the subheadline element will not appear on the page until 1 minute and 30 seconds after the page has been loaded. We can also set up an animation, choosing from on-page load or on-page scroll. On-page load will take effect as soon as the page is loaded. On-page scroll will only take effect when the element in question actually comes into view for the user. Additionally, we can choose a style and set a delay in milliseconds. So hopefully this helps clear things up a little bit in terms of how you can configure the subheadline element inside of the ClickFunnels editor. If you do have some more questions though, or anything like that, definitely go ahead and let us know in support chat.